We're looking at question 2 from the AP Statistics Midterm Review, and this one we're told a statistics teacher asked 29 of his students how many minutes they spent on what homework assignment. The distribution of the variable time on homework is, and so you see that word distribution underlined. That must be the key. We have to understand what that means. So that's where we're going to focus, is we're going to focus on that idea of distribution. I'm going to have to read each one then. So let's start with A, the difference between the longest time and the shortest time among the students' responses. Now, is that distribution? And the answer is no. That has a good definition of range. And so do keep in mind that even though it's the wrong answer for A, it's actually a statistical term, and it's a good point to kind of give some advice. Range is expressed as a value, not as an interval. That's a common error that people can make on multiple choice, is say range is from 3 to 7, when really range is 4, the max minus the min. All right, so let's look at it. So we know it's not A. B, a description of what values the variable takes and how often it takes them. Now that one, that sounds good. So far that sounds like that might be it. But let's just move on to be sure. So I have C, the average distance between each value of the variable. That is standard deviation. That is the average distance between each value of the variable. That's kind of variance. It's variability. It's standard deviation. So that's not it, but it's still a good statistical term to understand. D, the average time the student spends on the assignment. Well, that's just the mean, the average amount of time you would expect someone to spend on it. So that's the mean, the average. All right, so E, the number of students who were asked the question, 29. That's your sample size. That's the sample that was collected by the teacher. So even though A, and we have C, D, and E were all wrong, they were good definitions of statistical terms, but for the wrong question. So even though B is the answer, we do know it is going to be that a description of what values the variable takes and how often it takes them is the answer. A, C, D, and E are good definitions for a different statistical term. Now, just so you know, if you look at your Chapter 1 glossary, the distribution is one of the vocab words on there. And the definition says, tells what values a variable takes and how often it takes those values. So it really is, question B is really going to be the true definition. So choice B is the definition from our glossary as well. So that was number 2.